We hit on Suns, Celtics today as we get into the second scrimmage of the 3 rounds that the Celtics are going to get into here. As you saw in my last video, the Celtics stunk on Friday before they got into this exhibition with the Suns on Sunday, and it was a wake-up call. I said before these series of games that these were going to be 3 teams with slashers. You got your Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You got your Devin Booker. Devin Booker, by the way, if it felt like he was killing the Celtics, it wasn't just the 70-point game that he had at TD Garden. Every time the Celtics run into a Devin Booker, it feels like he just spots up, drains, and drops points at will. And that's what he was doing here. So I went back into the stat book, as we do here on Watch the Breakdown, and my eyes didn't deceive me. He shoots 34% on pull-up threes this year. Against the Celtics, 75%. So that's the backdrop going into this one. Celtics offense sloppy, defense worse against the Thunder. Here, Jaylen Brown setting a tone again. 21 points, 27 minutes, 7 of 13 shooting. Still looks like the best player on the Celtics. And you see what makes it happen here. Tight dribble to the rim, condensed. Not a whole lot of bouncing around like you see Jayson Tatum do. They're 2 different scorers, these 2 prolific players at the front of the Celtics. And I said it on our Celtics postgame show on CLNS Media. Who's to say this early into their careers, this young, with both having so much room to grow, that Jaylen Brown won't ultimately end up being the better player? I'm not going to bet on that. I'm not going to say that. But we're still at the point with these 2 players, as we saw in the first 2 preseason games, that Jaylen Brown can be the better player on any given night. And if he's impacting defensively, then all of a sudden you're talking about a championship level number 2 player on a team. Speaking of the other guy who could potentially be that number 2, Kemba Walker returns in this one with this nice baseline drive after weeks of fears surrounding his knee injury. He got back to Boston and felt the knee soreness that he had in March return. And so the Celtics kept him out of practices, wasn't certain if he was going to be available for scrimmage games, but he comes out in this one, attacks the basket, looks good, only plays 9 minutes, so it becomes all the more important, this trope that Brad Stevens talks about all the time, and I frankly love as a basketball mind, is this concept of having multiple players on the floor at the same time who can handle the ball. And when you look at the Celtics, it's Jayson Tatum at this point. He mans the pick and roll here, gets around Daniel Tyson. He has a tough time finishing early in this game. For Tatum, with me, it's still getting in the spot, finding the balance, and then finishing what you start here. Good look from mid-range. He gets to his spot, but you have to finish here, rim out. And he starts slow in this one, finish stronger later. Gordon Hayward, sharp as ever on the ball here. Able to get around, make this initial pass happen, come with the second level attack, and then find Jaylen Brown for this 3. Brown still deadly from the corners. Not the best shooter in the world, but when you can get him those catch and shoot opportunities in the corner here, he's going to convert. So the Celtics offense looking sharp early, defense better. Suns start 0-6 in this one. C's are getting to their spots defensively, and here comes Enes Kanter. Oh, I love him. Phenomenal on social justice. Has a ton to say, and is as willing of an interview as you'll ever find. I had a phenomenal chat with him in August at his Syracuse camp. But as a defender, we all know. Celtics have been using him in this drop back coverage you see here, where he sits back, plays a pseudo zone on his own, while there's matchups on the perimeter that he's able to work around, and he's able to pick up shooters on the outside. But here, way too much space to a DeAndre Ayton? Alright, maybe never mind. That's only the second time I've ever seen DeAndre Ayton hit a 3. But here, extra rotation, and he can't get out to the shooter. The Celtics play defense on a string. They switch everything. Everybody has a responsibility to have a man accounted for. And here, as you see, if Gordon Hayward, if Semi Ojeleye slips too much in, all of a sudden Hayward's left to defend Dario Saric in the corner. Saric isn't Steph Curry, he isn't Klay Thompson, but he can hit a three out there. You need a hand in that guy's face in the corner. Even with the threat of the pick and roll coming with DeAndre Ayton in there. Semi Ojeleye right to pick up the roll man inside on Ayton here, but breakdown on the perimeter. Saric gets his three. Not the best day for the Celtics. Certainly an improvement over the Thunder game defensively. Brad Stevens, John Corrales. This was their exchange in the post game.
The transition defense looked bad.
Is that the adjective you'd use?
Well, in public, yes.
All right. Well, whatever adjective you were thinking, that's the way I feel about it.
Offensively, though, this second unit can do quite a bit. Marcus Smart, you see him drop down to the second unit. Didn't have the best day in terms of ball handling, but we talk about multiple guys that can handle the ball. He gets it to Enes Kanter. He uses Enes Kanter as a screener to get himself open, and he hits all 5 shots in the lane that he takes in this game. Marcus Smart, we talk about all the struggles that the Celtics bench unit has. He can be an antidote to some of that. Great looking here, fading away. Awesome touch on the pick and roll with Daniel Tice here. He has chemistry with all these big men at a higher level than I've seen anyone else on the Celtics develop. His ball handling at this point in his career still astounds me. This is a guy who came into the league as a slasher, a scorer, and a defender, and has modeled himself as one of the best backup point guards in the NBA. In fact, I think Marcus Smart has a case to be the best backup point guard in the NBA. But everyone else needs to be out there healthy. We'll see if Kemba Walker is actually ready to go when the Celtics start on Friday. A few more things I want to get in here. Jayson Tatum ultimately works through the struggles here by getting into his spots in isolation. He loves having this space to work on his own and spot up by getting space against the defenders, switching onto a Cam Johnson, taking advantage of a Mikal Bridges, a great defender who pestered him earlier in this game, using his length here to block him inside. But Tatum's spot up, his dribble, his step back, too quick for a lot of defenders to handle at his level of length. And he ends up scorching in this game by the end of it. We get into the bench in the later portion here. Romeo Langford had sore stomach, not sure. It wasn't Magic City wings. It wasn't the packaged food that we saw in the first 2 days of the NBA bubble. So maybe Tillman Fertitta has something to say to Romeo Langford about the food that possibly kept him out of Friday's action. That joke went on too long. But wasn't any joke on the court. He gets to the rim here. Strong take. The Celtics have needed an extra wingman to be able to come in and get them some buckets. Semi Ojeleye, Javonte Green. They can do all those little things you need on defense in the rebounding game. But they can't put the ball in the bucket at a consistent rate. So Langford here, this is a guy who was shooting with ping pong paddles on his hand earlier in the year, able to hit a corner three here without much hesitation. I watched that shot and I said, I'm not worried about this. So Langford can't stay on the court. He's had quite a few bouts with injury early in his career, but when he's out there, there's been flashes. That Lakers game earlier in the year. And my guy, Tremont Waters, wrote about him for Celtics blog. Phenomenal dish behind the back. This guy can pass the ball. And Brad Stevens this week said he's important to what they're doing. So two-way players can play in the NBA playoffs this year. He may have a role. Phoenix Suns fall 117-103. Keep it tuned with Watch the Breakdown. I'm Bobby Manning, getting you an hour of film in less than 10 minutes, as we did again here. Please subscribe, and please watch your basketball. It's back.